Hello everyone, welcome to the next session in the Strategy and Planning series. My name is Andrew Gaffney. I'm Editorial Director with Demand Gen Report. Really glad you could join us for this next session. Two of the hottest topics we're hearing about this year. On one side, we're hearing a lot more about focusing on customer experience and thinking beyond just the acquisition phase. And the other is, for marketing teams to think more about how they can help with middle and later stages in helping with sales enablement. So this next session is going to provide two great speakers that are going to provide some thought leadership, benchmarking, and insights around sales enablement, how it's impacting customer experience, and also some use case example of how a leading B2B company has addressed that. Quick reminder that the series is being presented by Demand Gen Report. If you're not already a subscriber to Demand Gen Report, we encourage you to go take advantage of that. You can sign up at Demand Gen Report. You'll get access to proprietary research we create, as well as the daily and weekly content we create about trends in B2B performance marketing. So take advantage of that. And also follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter. There's a lot of groups that we lead and have some great conversations around these topics. Also want to remind everybody that in addition to the online series, we have a physical event called the B2B Marketing Exchange that delves into these topics. There's a whole track on sales enablement. That'll be held February 25th to the 26th in Scottsdale. Hopefully you can join us for that. Also, a couple of lucky folks will be winning free passes to the B2B Marketing Exchange as part of our prize pack. There's also some cool technology prizes you can win in the prize pack. You increase your chances of winning more sessions that you register and attend, so stay active throughout the week and hopefully win some of these great prizes. The session is scheduled to run for the presentation is going to run for about 30 to 40 minutes, and then we're going to say about 10 minutes for Q&A. Go ahead and type in any questions that come to mind. You can do that right in the Q&A tab. If we don't get to your questions, we'll steer them to our speakers and ask them to follow up with you directly. So don't worry if we didn't get to your question. Just go ahead and type those in. Quick reminders: you can also follow social media on the left side of the dashboard and see some related conversations. There'll also be some related resources that you can download on today's topic. One of the frequently asked questions we get is, yes, the session is being recorded. All registrants will get a link to go back and review it or share it with their peers. I mentioned we've got a great topic today. We've got two really great speakers that are going to be addressing this for us. Brian Ehrenfreund is the heads up Global Sales Enablement and Marketing at Asaya, based in Bellevue, Washington, where he's responsible for ABM strategy, sales process, demand generation, sales and marketing operations, including the sales and MarTech stacks. And I don't know how you get his sleep doing all that, Brian. He began his sales and marketing career at Xerox Corp, where as a field seller, and went on to holding several senior-level sales and marketing roles over his 18-year career, culminating as Director of CRM within the Worldwide Marketing Group. Brian also is going to be talking to us about the Sales Enablement Society. He was one of the founding members of that and is very active in that as well. Brian will be joined by Chris Bogosh, who is with Seismic. Chris is working with clients for over 6 years now and driving collaboration between internal teams. While at Seismic, Chris is helping bridge the gap between sales and marketing departments to foster better execution during the sales cycle and provide more relevant content to buyers. And he's going to be sharing a great use case and some other thought leadership with us around the topic today. But let me turn it over to Brian started.
Terrific. Thank you, Andrew, for that kind of introduction. I really appreciate it. And good afternoon, everyone. As Andrew mentioned, my name is Brian Ehrenfreund. I'm the Director of Global Sales Enablement and Marketing for Asaya. Today, Andrew asked me to talk about and share some trends on sales enablement that's really currently happening in the market. Well, before I jump right in, I wanted to briefly share some background information about Asaya, since we're not a household name, at least not yet, but you can say you heard it here first. You will absolutely be aware of us in the future. And also wanted to explain a little bit about my role at Asaya. Asaya is a wireless power technology development company. But what does that really mean? Well, if you're old enough like me to remember when we had to plug our computers in a wall in our office or at home, just 10, 15 years ago to get on the internet, now today, what do? Well, we just open our laptops or our mobile devices and we grab a Wi-Fi connection out of the air wirelessly, magically, right? Well, Asaya is bringing this same type of capability to wirelessly power all types of devices, from consumer electronics to industrial IoT. We're solving the battery replacement problem for billions of devices that we come to rely upon and use every day in our lives. Like smoke alarms is a great example. We utilize our award-winning coded technology to power smoke alarms. Wouldn't it be nice to never have to wake up in the middle of the night to hear that chirping sound of your smoke alarm battery dying? Well, that's just one example of the battery problem that we're really solving every day. And think about, all the other types of devices that run on batteries, from remote controls to your TV, Xbox, Game Boys, keyboards, mice, wearables, and of course the holy grail. Everybody wants to be able to wirelessly charge and not have to worry about charging a phone. And you think about this technology being ubiquitous in your home, in your office, at public spaces, coffee shops. That's our mission and vision in the world. We're a small company though, and I wear many hats being a small company, and my SC role, from leading our demand gen efforts that Andrew mentioned before, as well as our ABM strategy and execution, and all of our MarTech and sales tech stacks. So I'm kind of busy, but enough about me and my day job, in which I love to do, and I totally enjoy enabling our sellers across the buyer's journey. So let's segue into what I do in my spare time. And I'm really winking if you can see me, because I don't have a lot of spare time. I don't have a lot of spare time. So in my spare time, what I'm really involved with is the Sales Enablement Society. As Andrew mentioned, I'm one of the founding members. It was started 3 years ago. So basically right at the inception. I wasn't there at the first meeting, which actually took place in West Palm Beach, Florida, but shortly thereafter. It was started by a gentleman you might be familiar with. He's a former Forrester analyst, Scott Santucci. He formed it in the fall of 2016 with one chapter in Washington, D.C., Virginia area. We've grown tremendously over the past 3 years, and I'll share some stats and information. We now have over 50 chapters globally. It's a totally volunteer-led organization, so there's nobody that gets paid, including myself. And really our mission is to promote and elevate the sales enablement profession by creating a really supportive culture, bringing people together. They were so welcoming when I got involved. And really all the different like-minded people, and we're all coming from different places. Our members come from sales disciplines, marketing disciplines, sales leadership, sales ops, marketing ops, training, learning and development, demand gen, just to name a few. But they're all pretty much disparate organizations today. If you're interested in learning more about the Sales Enablement Society, I invite you to check out scsociety.org. Just go to scsociety.org and you can check it out. So as I mentioned, I started off leading at the chapter level, and then I took on the role as Sales Enablement Global Chapter Leader. So I started off at the chapter level the first year. I was just a member, as many people start off. Then I was asked to take on the leadership role at the chapter level, which I've done, in addition to now my global chapter responsibilities. So if there's anybody listening now from the Phoenix metropolitan Arizona area, we have attendees coming in from Tucson, from Flagstaff. I invite you to come check out a meeting or any of our local chapters. So that's enough about me, Sales Enablement Society. We have a ton of things to unpack here, so let's move on. So the first thing I want to talk about is a little bit about kind of level setting us on the state of sales. And if nothing else, it's really kind of how sales enablement has risen to where it is today. And I didn't need CSO insights to tell me, but they are really spot on when I compare to even just a few years ago, but really when I started my sales career. Sales has definitely become harder. It's definitely more complex. There's definitely more individuals involved in the decision-making process. It's astounding, but quota attainment has gone down now for 5 straight years. More than half the sellers are going to miss quota this year, and 66% of sellers' time is spent on non-selling activities. And it's something that I deal with every day in the world that I live in, is we've seen a tremendous increase in committee and consensus buying. I just had a conversation last week at our annual customer conference with a very senior level retail executive regarding this topic, that there's nothing in his organization anymore that he solely makes the decision on his own anymore. And I'll show you some stats coming up which really support that. So let's take a look at what is sales enablement and what isn't sales enablement. A lot of confusion. Is it a function? Is it a mindset? Is it a department? like sales training department or sales tools, sales and marketing alignment, strategies, metrics. Really, sales enablement is all of those functions. But what really needs to be looked at, and we'll discuss this some more in a little bit, is looking at this as a strategic function versus a tactical function. Of definitions, when we look at sales enablement, I mean, organizations throughout, and here's a few that I threw up here, including the Sales Enablement Society, all have our definition for sales enablement. So basically, every major consultancy has defined it. And I've wanted to share just two different definitions. And there's two different organizations that have looked at it. And they focus on some commonalities, that's why I wanted to share. It's really providing sales with the information, tools, content, training, really at the right place at the right time. CSO Insights goes a little further, and they talk about all customer-facing professionals. And I think that's interesting, and you'll see some more metrics and stats with regards to sales enablement and where it's going when I get into the trends. And that might, kind of blow your minds when I say that sales enablement isn't new. Well, I'm being a little bit facetious here. The term has been around for about 20 years. We can trace its origins back to like 1999 when a gentleman by the name of John Aiello, a former brand manager at Miller Brewing Company, and Drew Larson, he was a telecommunications consultant, began touting kind of this new strategic sales operations and sales management approach. But it's really been the last 5 years, 10 years maybe max, that sales enablement has really, come on the scene. And again, I'll show some supporting metrics on that as well. And when I say it's really nothing new, I mean, even in my early days of running sales organizations at Xerox, we were touting our cross-functional teams that they all had to basically, enable sales, service, training, admin. We're all in the business of enabling sales. If we weren't successful in closing a sale, none of us had jobs and the lights weren't on, if you will. So we all played our role, but we're all siloed. We all had good intentions, but we're all doing things a little bit differently with really no strategic organization. So what's the difference today? Why all the buzz? I like to look at sales enablement as kind of an umbrella function. So taking all those silo organizations and putting it underneath. It's really the ability to wrap the people, the process, the technology that has dramatically changed how sellers enable to become this kind of umbrella strategy organization. To really provide all the customer-facing professionals with the necessary knowledge, training, and resources to close deals faster. But another way I'd like to share to look at enablement is utilizing this analogy. And it's an analogy that I can't take credit for. It's actually my counterpart in Dallas, a gentleman by the name of Bob Britton. He runs the Sales Enablement Society Dallas chapter. And he shared this with me, and I think it resonated with me and hope it resonates with you. So you picture an 8-crew racing skull, the type that's used in the Olympics or any university competition. And each crew member has an oar. The racing skull is your sales organization. And each crew member with an oar in the water in their hands represents the various disparate silo functions that I just mentioned within your company, trying to enable and help sales, IT, learning and development, sales leadership, C-suite contracting, all the organizations that I mentioned before. The problem is that each crew member, even though with their good intentions, they put their oar in the water at a different time. They have different depth, different stroke, and when it's left on their own, there's little coordination. Each row does what they feel is correct. And the oars get crossed. The skull moves slowly or goes in circles, goes off course, or doesn't go at all. And basically you get passed by your competition. But at the back of the skull, however, there's a coxswain, the person that's basically orchestrating things, setting the rhythm, watching the competition, ensuring the oars in the water correctly, ensuring the crew is informed, is correct, and the crew is trained properly and is motivating the crew. And I like to use the analogy that the coxswain is the analogy to sales enablement. And the larger the skull, the more rows you need. So the greater need for a good coxswain or a good sales enablement function depends on the size of your organization. So now that I've hopefully grounded you a little bit about your understanding about sales enablement, and it's really more of a strategic approach than a tactical approach, I really want to move on to, and let's talk about what I'm seeing really as the latest. Now that we've discussed and learned a little bit about sales enablement, what it is and what it isn't, let's talk about what I'm seeing as far as trends in sales enablement. So the first trend, and these are in no particular order, is sales enablement is still growing. So at the recent third annual Sales Enablement Society conference, which just took place a couple of weeks ago in San Antonio, Heather Cole and Maria Chen from Series Decision presented that the percentage of organizations are seeing an increase in sales enablement budget. So in 2012, it was only 34%, jumped up to 53% in 2014, and then this year, 76%. But what's really interesting is that Series Decisions also found that most organizations are expanding their sales enablement function, especially high-performance organizations, and really expanding their impact. So we see that budgets are increasing, but what about the enablement role in and of itself? Interestingly enough, Tamara Shanks from CSO Insights in their 5th annual Sales Enablement Study found that after the spike in 2017, where it spiked tremendously at organizations, almost 60% of organizations had a sales enablement function, they found that it's pretty much flattened off. So last year was 61%, this 0.0, this year was 61.3, so basically it's the same. So as far as CSO Insights found, it's kind of, and we'll see what happens next year because they run this study every year. I'm really curious to see if we'll continually remain flat or it's going to increase. I can tell you a personal perspective, and going back to the Sales Enablement Society, and the number 2 trend that I'm seeing is that now we have 56 chapters. As I remember, I mentioned, we started with 1 3 years ago. We have 56, 18 countries. I tried this depicted on the map where we have, a chapter in different countries. I can tell you right now, as we speak, I have 4 chapters globally that have requested a chapter throughout the world. It's just, amazing, the reaction we get and the feedback we get. So again, I'm curious to see what happens next year with the study that CSO Insights does to see if it is, continuing to grow or not. Another thing that I wanted to mention, take a look at, is job titles. And when you look at like a hockey stick approach here, and a gentleman by the name of Paul Krajewski in Sydney actually put this together. He's been tracking sales enablement in Google for a number of years now, and he found this hockey stick, and kind of coincides with what I shared before around 2017. You can see how it's gone up. And right now, currently, there's over 10,000 titles of individuals now on LinkedIn with sales enablement in their title. So we'll see how this continues to grow, but from what we see here, there's still tremendous growth. Now, trend number 3, what is really important when you look at the sales enablement function, and I think a lot of us kind of got involved with sales enablement. In the beginning, it was kind of random acts of sales enablement. It wasn't anything that was strategic. It wasn't anything that was planned. It all kind of just got put into that role. Well, what CSO Insights found out in their research, with a formal SE function and charter, your win rates increase exponentially. And what you can see here on the chart is 55.1% versus organizations that either don't have a formalized function or a charter. So I would urge you to take a look at that and formalize the function within your organizations. What coincides with that is number 4, and that's alignment. What's also really important is when you align your organization and align along the customer journey, you also increase dramatically the win rates. Win rates of 17.9%, quota attainment increases 11.8%. So there's a lot of benefits for organizations to do this as a strategic approach and not kind of as, random acts of sales enablement, as I like to call it. Trend number 5 is something that's near and dear to my heart because I live with this every day. And that's the increase that we see, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, or alluded to it a little bit earlier, is committee and consensus buying scenarios. There is not a deal, what we sell in our technology is really our intellectual property and RDKs. We're not a manufacturer, but it's a complex solution. And when you have complex solutions, nobody is making those decisions on their own anymore. As you can see, just in 2 years, it went from 24% to a committee scenario to 28% this year. Independent decisions, were 41% back in 2017, well, only 34%. And I would, say that those types of decisions are definitely not for considered enterprise purchase deals today. More deals today are still getting lost to basically no decision, just status quo. And the bottom line is because it is so darn hard to get the buying committee to all agree. So they just basically throw their hands up and say, you know what? Staying with where we're at today and the solution we have today is fine for us. And that's frustrating for sellers, I have to tell you. Now, number 6, and this is where sales enablement has really been moving, and I'm hearing a lot from my colleagues and chapter members throughout the world, that it's really not just for direct sellers anymore. And Serious Decisions also did this research, and they found that 68% of high-performing organizations enabled additional roles outside of traditionally sales enablement. Matter of fact, maybe we should change the name. It should be called sales enablement, right? Maybe just enablement, or growth enablement, or revenue enablement. I mean, we can argue that one, what it might be. But also there's definitely a trend underfoot to enable a partner organization. So if you're working with channel partners, 64% of high-performing organizations have some form of partner enablement now. And a recent study found that CMOs now rank partner enablement in their top 3 priorities as far as initiatives are concerned. So it's something you definitely want to keep your eye on. As I mentioned, it's not just for sales anymore. So look across your organizations, not just sales, channel partners, customer success, support. I think we'll hear about that from Chris a little bit later as well. But it definitely has, we've proven that the core competencies for sales enablement can be applied across the enterprise for all customer-facing roles. So everyone needs to possess the same skills, knowledge, process, their expertise, and access to the same assets to maximize really every opportunity, every buyer interaction, and every customer interaction. The 7th trend that I'm seeing is still a growth in investment and the growth in sales enablement platforms. When you look at it today, $1.1 billion being spent. It's going to be 2.6 in 2024, which is a tremendous growth. If you look at Scott Brinker publishes a marketing technology stack slide, sales and marketing technology. There's over 7,000 sales and MarTech technologies, which includes sales enablement on that infographic. It's so small you can barely read it today. And I think this slide goes to show that it's going to continue to grow, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. Number 8, I think this is really important, and there was an interesting presentation a couple of weeks ago at the Sales Enablement Society conference by Kate Gugowski, and she's the head of Sales Enablement for Amazon Web Services, and she shared that she and others are working on snackable content. I love that term, snackable content. As we all know, our attention spans, it's scary, but 111 words, which is the length of the message that an adult, can deal with before they stop reading. 40 seconds is our attention span, but we're spending 12 hours a day, on technology. I mean, it's just crazy. So successfully, Amazon Web Services has tested and has worked with smaller pieces of content, short form content, and it's really working for them. So that's something that I would suggest you take a look at and think about in your own content development and strategy efforts. Number 9 is the customer experience, and this one is really important. And you look at, I received this research from Salesforce, and that's actually Tiffany Bova provided, and she handles customer growth, and she's the innovations evangelist at Salesforce. And she presented this research just recently at our conference. And what's really becoming important, and I can definitely attest to this, is that your experience with a company is just as important as the product experience. And I'll say that again. So your experience with the company is just as important as the product experience. I'm personally in that 84% today. I can tell you my experience with a brand. If you think about your experience of getting from point A to point B, and we all use rideshare services right now. Why are rideshare services so popular compared to a taxi? It's because of the experience. So there's a blurring of the line. Our B2C experiences are becoming B2B, and it's kind of becoming business to everything and everyone and every experience. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. And the last trend that we're seeing, and it's probably comes as no surprise, is a lot of buzz and a lot have been written around AI and machine learning, and we're seeing it, absolutely. For most of us, it still sounds like rocket science, right? But it's really here. I mean, it's impacting our decision-making process today for both individuals and for businesses and consumers. If you use Google Maps today, by the way, and you get from point A to point B, you're already entrusting artificial intelligence with your commuting decisions and your safety. For sales teams, artificial intelligence, along with machine learning, can really help prioritize account targets. But you might be wondering, how will AI help you and your organization? Well, AI algorithms will study your accounts, will read customers' buying signals, their communications, your organization, data, and so much more. So based on this data, the AI algorithms can help predict really your lead's next move and helping give you an idea of where the customer buying patterns and habits are. So you can really spend your time and focus your time on the right opportunities. So moreover, it can make sound recommendations on content and services and offers that you can forward to particular customers. So in short, when you combine AI and sales enablement, it can help make your sales and marketing teams much, much more effective and achieve multifold sales results. So I just want to leave you with a few takeaways. Sales enablement needs to really be strategic, to be successful in an organization, as we saw, and really aligned to the customer journey. Organizations that have implemented sales enablement, the ones that have been successful, have done it strategically, are benefiting. Sales is hard and probably only going to be getting harder, especially with increased committee and consensus buying. As I mentioned before, it's not just for your sales organization. Look across your organization of others that you can enable in your customer-facing roles. Take a look at your content. Like I said, I like the snackable content concept. And customer experience is becoming just as important as your product quality. And last but not least, the rise of AI and machine learning, and it's only going to become bigger, I see, over time. So with that, I just want to thank you for your time, and I want to hand it over to Chris.
Thanks, Brian, for that. And as Andrew had mentioned before in the beginning of today's webinar, my name is Chris Bogash, Customer Success Director at Seismic. And what we're going to talk about now is kind of a use case when it comes to sales enablement platforms. As you look ahead to planning your sales enablement strategy for 2020, it's important to understand that now more than ever, customers have a wealth of data at their hands. They're expecting a personalized experience, expect companies to know their business inside and out, and use their knowledge to customize products and services to create a frictionless experience both during the buying cycle and post-purchase. Sales enablement may be the key factor in helping companies respond to this growing need from customers for a personalized buying experience. At Seismic, we approach this need with a four-fold approach: personalization, analytics, education, and automation. In personalization, we talked earlier about how buyers are expecting a customized experience. A big part of this is empowering your sales team with easy access to personalized, relevant content. This can be a pain point for many companies, where information is often siloed and sales teams are spending 30 or more plus hours searching for and creating content. It is important to make your sales enablement tool a single source of truth for content, enabling sales teams to reach the right content quickly and easily personalize it towards their buyer. This can also help drive adoption as well, which we'll see in practice here in a few moments. Analytics. Data, reporting, and analytics are key to improving the customer experience. They provide a feedback loop that enables marketing and sales to continuously improve content, finding out what's working and what isn't. Engagement reporting is also a crucial aspect of determining the ROI of content that is produced by marketing and used by sales. Additionally, the data on what pieces are being engaged with, how long they viewed, and what specific sections are being viewed helps determine how effectively content played a role in moving customers through their journey. Education. Sales readiness goes hand in hand with the customer experience. Getting the right training and materials to your sales team is invaluable in an ever-evolving marketplace, where trends change rapidly. 90% of your customers are going to Google first before they even have a first engagement with sales. B2B customers increasingly want to rely on sales reps as a trusted advisor and business partner, as opposed to a traditional sales role. However, a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work to develop the unique, role-specific proficiencies necessary. Traditionally, event-oriented training doesn't stick and doesn't scale. Organizations need a modern sales training alternative that is effective, efficient, and scalable across any number of sellers, but can still be hyper-specific to the needs of each sales rep or team. Companies we have worked with are increasingly engaging with their sales enablement platform to integrate with their sales readiness and training tools in order to create an always-on training platform that is available for sales teams 24/7. Last but not least, automation. It's great to talk about the blue sky scenario of every customer being given a personalized treatment and content by your sales team, but this can be impractical for scale at many companies. Sales reps aren't engaged in a one-to-one relationship with customers. One rep can usually be communicating with 10 or hundreds of customers at a time, trying to engage with them on a multiple facets of things. Automation can really be the key to unlock your sales team's productivity, ensuring that they aren't spending hours to create personalized presentations before a pitch, or spending a full business day researching a customer to make sure all content they are sending will be relevant to them. Our customers are using their sales enablement platforms to automate critical marketing and sales content and receive usage insights to significantly improve the efficiency of their content engine. Illumina is a great example of a company who we've worked with to empower their sales team and increase their sales and marketing alignment using the 4 essentials to sales enablement that we talked about earlier. To give you some background on the company, Illumina provides a wide variety of complex genetic testing to a number of life science and government verticals, so it is extremely important for their message to be customer-facing, making sure they're receiving the right message at the right time. Their sales team were struggling to find the most relevant and up-to-date messaging and content for every product, market, and sales stage. The issue wasn't that there wasn't content available. In fact, they had 24 different teams creating collateral. However, this was distributed across 70 different content repositories with no central ownership, causing sales teams to spend hours searching for content, and often great pieces of content would go unused because it was hard to find. There was a measurable loss of productivity for both sales and the marketing teams. When Illumina considered implementing sales enablement technology within their current ecosystem, they had to consider 3 questions. Number 1, how are they going to drive adoption of new tech? Number 2, how are they going to ensure this would be the single source of truth for all content? And number 3, how are they going to prove out ROI? Illumina not only made content accessible and findable, but it also leveraged Seismic to enable its reps to create a personalized journey for their customers. Using predictive technology for every prospect and for customer engagement, reps are served the perfect pieces of content based on the situation's attributes directly through Salesforce.com. Illumina's reps can dynamically customize and assemble content when necessary within Seismic's LiveDoc technology, distribute it with Seismic's LiveSign capabilities, and measure engagement with the platform's analytics dashboard. For a sales rep who's on the go, trying to catch a doctor for 10 minutes between patients, or a product manager who's trying to measure content by use region, these tools are nothing short of invaluable. Adoption is often a question that comes up again and again, where marketing teams are extremely excited to drive towards a single source of truth for content and use analytics to optimize content creation. However, a mass effort is needed to increase sales adoption of this new technology. To accomplish this, Illumina implemented a creative, multi-step approach. They started by instilling a sense of ownership by letting sales teams name the tool. After sending out a survey, they received 626 name suggestions and eventually landed the Illumina Content Engine. Next, they ensured that the Content Engine was sellers' one-stop shop for all content, not just sales assets, but also training and educational material that can be leveraged for ongoing learning. While sales teams were now empowered to enhance the customer experience by having personalized content at their fingertips, marketing now had analytics, data, and reporting to measure engagement metrics on each piece of content and track engagement across the buyer's journey. The results spoke for themselves. Sales reps at Illumina now had on-brand and regulatory-approved content ensuring targeted messaging for every meeting. More than 8,000 files all reside in one place, replacing dozens of repositories. Reps have saved an estimated 6,650 plus hours searching for and assembling slide decks, product information, and cost estimates by using Seismic Flag Doc technology. The use of marketing content also grew about 5 to 6 times greater before platform adoption. Most importantly, sales and marketing were both aligned under one platform that seamlessly integrated with their other marketing and sales tools. That is just one example of the power of having a sales enablement tool helping to drive engagement through your buyer's journey.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that example, Chris. And Brian, thanks for all of the insights from you as well. I thought that was a good, really perfect kind of match of helping to define where we are in terms of the sales enablement category and then getting a great look at how a company is applying it. Reminders to the audience, go ahead and type in any questions you have. We got a bunch coming in already. If we don't get to your questions, again, I'll steer it to Brian and Chris and ask them to follow up with you directly. So let me jump into Q&A. Brian, I'm going to steer this one to you first from Erica, which is kind of the million-dollar question that I've heard a lot about sales enablement. She's asking, where should the sales enablement function report into?
Well, that's a great question, and I have pretty strong feelings on it. I believe it really should report to the C-suite. In my organization, I report right up to into the CRO level. So it should be at that level in an organization. I think the closer you can get to the person that owns the sales budget, the greater you're going to have success within your sales enablement initiatives.
Okay, awesome. Good answer. Let me steer this one to you first, Chris, and maybe Brian will have something he wants to add. This is from Greg. We have an existing sales enablement tool, but it often goes unused. How can we increase platform and technology adoption across our sales teams?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that we see from organizations is that their sales enablement tool isn't their one-stop shop when it comes to a content repository. People are still able to access content through other avenues or even download content that's residing on their computers. So to help drive adoption, we really talk about being able to consolidate everything into a one-stop shop repository for people to be able to access that marketing content and for sales to leverage it out of that platform rather than having to download and repurpose that stuff. Sales enablement platforms really allow marketers to maintain versioning control and help drive that one-stop shop.
Awesome. Anything you'd add there, Brian?
What I've seen, what I've seen successful in organizations that I've run in the past is that I've had and taken on, an individual seller who's very well respected, well received in the organization, and if I can get that person on board, it really helps then spread it throughout the organization. And the last piece is compensation. I mean, if you tie it to compensation, that they have to be in the system. I know some companies do that. You're not going to get paid. Your comp's not going to happen. Your commissions, that also drives behavior.
Money talks, right?
Exactly.
All right, great insights. Chris, let me ask you to take this one first, and then again we might ask Brian if he has anything to add. From Christine. Can sales enablement be valuable to smaller companies as well, or is it really only worthwhile at an enterprise scale?
No, sales enablement tools can definitely be utilized for smaller organizations. I think as smaller organizations are starting to grow and expand, having the sales enablement tool already in place to be able to drive that is really crucial in the expansion, not only from an internal perspective of content, but then also driving sales, right? So having that area for a sales enablement tool for a smaller organization to be able to get any seller into there and really drive that content use is crucial, whether you're a multi-million-dollar company or somebody that's just starting off.
Well, Brian, you guys are example of that, right?
I was going to say, I was going to piggyback on that. We're a great example. we're a small company. We have a variety of tools, and we spend a lot of time on, finding the right content. And to the degree that, and I'm speaking for ourselves, but I'll say for most companies, we don't expect to be a small company forever, right? We want to grow. So we want to make sure we have the right tools and technology to enable our sellers right from the get-go. So that was kind of, our reasoning.
Awesome. Question from Gavin. Again, I'll ask Christy for you to tackle first and see if Brian has some additional thoughts. Can any other teams be empowered by sales enablement, or is it really just for sales?
No, so we've seen through a lot of organizations, they've created a sales enablement tool as kind of their one-stop shop for all content repository across the whole organization. So while sales is definitely the easiest driver for our sales enablement tool, being able to get content quickly from a marketing perspective, we've seen others, and Brian had mentioned this previously in his presentation about like customer success organizations that are starting to utilize tools like the sales enablement tools to be able to help drive engagement from customer success organizations that are in companies. So there's definitely other avenues and other areas within organizations outside of just sales and marketing that can definitely leverage the tool.
Brian, have you seen that as well?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was definitely one of the trends that I mentioned. It's just not for sales anymore. Matter of fact, it's probably a misnomer. It's probably a bad name that we call it sales enablement, other than it's all about increasing sales. So maybe it's customer-facing people enablement, buyer enablement. That's tough as well. But yeah, totally agree. It's definitely one of the trends that we're seeing, that let's take the expertise and the processes and the knowledge that were developed for sales and now provide it for channel partners, customer success and support, any customer-facing function.
The question for you, Brian. Cynthia was asking more about Sales Enablement Society. It looks like she's based in Chicago from her note, and she's asking if you know if there's a local chapter in her city and if there's any benefits to, beyond its local chapters of other benefits from being involved.
Terrific question. And yes, we do have a chapter in Chicago. Feel free to reach out to me or go onto the platform at stsociety.org. As I mentioned earlier, it doesn't cost anything to register and sign up. Click on the link for the Chicago chapter and join. But again, once you're on the platform or otherwise, feel free. My contact information will be shared right there on the slide. Feel free to contact me directly.
All right, we're going to take one more from Robert, and Chris, I'll ask you to take it first. It's somewhat similar to where should the report into, but he's asking who my company should spearhead sales enablement efforts, marketing, sales, or operations.
Yeah, so what we've kind of been seeing is a trend, and I'm sure Brian can elaborate on this a little bit more, where he kind of sits with leading some of the sales enablement societies and stuff. We've actually seen it being spearheaded by multiple different departments within the organization. Clearly, sales seems to take like the front road of it, because obviously with it being kind of driven by a profit model for organizations. But marketing also has skins in the game. Obviously, operations or IT, depending on the platforms that you guys are going to be kind of looping yourself into, to kind of have that as well, because from an IT perspective, they want to be able to slim down what they have as far as systems go. Marketing and sales want to be able to also leverage the tools that IT is looking at to kind of leverage. So from a lot of the things that we see when we're going into clients and talking to them about the tools, we're doing kind of a multi-divisional approach when it comes to sales, marketing, IT, and maybe even some other divisions that might want to have some skin in the game, such as customer success as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback on that. Brian. Yeah, so I was just going to piggyback on that real quickly. But yeah, I mean, totally right. I mean, Chris is spot on. It really is not so much kind of what, if you will, if you're a siloed organization to come in on, just make sure you're at the right level. You're at the CXO level within your organization. So you really get the right, amount of focus and budget. That's really the key. But yeah, it comes from all different sides of the organization.
Awesome. All right, Chris and Brian, I want to thank you both. I thought this was really great insights, and again, having some real-world examples in there. So appreciate both of your time and perspective here.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. One session is going to be talking, we talked about content a little bit in this one, but we're going to be looking at a blueprint for content ROI, 3 ways to maximize the value and impact of your content investments. That'll be at 4 p.m. Hopefully you can join us for that. Again, remember to keep an eye out, go back and look at the full agenda, any sessions you missed, and you can go back and check those out on demand and also share them with your peers. So thanks again to Chris and Brian. Thank you all for attending, and hope we'll see you on the next session. Have a great day, everybody.